Thank you all for coming out and welcome to the Church of Jesus Christ. Sister Patty and Sister Betty and Brother Jim and Sister Jen. I can't see further than that. I believe Sister Flo is out there as well. It's so nice to see all of you. But you all make this, the Church of Jesus Christ, national. We're not just a little mission in Oldham County, Kentucky, but instead we are a national group. And then we see this beautiful baby boy, Andrew, on screen. Andrew by himself, though we will certainly mention Sister Leah, his mom, but Andrew by himself sitting on video makes us the Church of Jesus Christ International. So welcome to the Church of Jesus Christ International this morning. And I pray God blesses each one of you. You have already blessed me, already blessed our congregation in being with us, and we so appreciate your support. And my prayer sincerely is that your reward is that God delivers or has his message delivered. So my prayer is always that I don't get in the way. Yesterday, our family joined Aubrey in celebrating her husband's birthday. My son-in-law was celebrated in a special way, in a different way, especially for a 33-year-old man. And I only say that because Aubrey made a comment to the young woman who was helping us helping Aubrey and supporting Aubrey in the room where we all met before the event began. And so this sweet young lady was swirling around and she came to Aubrey and she was obviously looking around the room. I think she was looking for the birthday boy and asked Aubrey what her role was. And Aubrey said, I'm actually the wife. This birthday is for a 33-year-old man. And the young lady just started to giggle real hard. Now, why is that? We were at a roller skating rink. And so these parties obviously are normally for 3-year-old and 4-year-old and 5-year-olds and not 33-year-olds. And so for me, it was perfection for our particular family and the way we celebrate. And the fact that we were together there to celebrate Aaron's birthday, a 33-year-old birthday, made it even more magnificent. And so our party took control of the roller rink. Where little party goers should be skating, we had adults skating on this circle, and it was just wonderful to watch. I will tell you that the 60-year-olds were not represented on the skating rink. We were sitting in wisdom on the side, watching everybody else skate with all body parts intact at the end of the day. But it was delightful. At the end of the day, and we were there, I think, 3 or 4 hours. At the end of the day, I listened to Courtney and Aubrey, my daughters, talking. Or actually, they brought me in to a conversation. I wasn't listening to them, so I missed the beginning of their conversation. But I'm assuming after having a day filled with roller skating in a roller skating rink, air hockey, different video games. Candace was there, so skee ball was definitely a theme for a lot of the fun that the kids had. Candace went over to the desk and bought a gift card and began to swipe on all these machines, taking all the grandkids there. It's just fun. So at the end of the day, Aubrey or Courtney, I apologize to both of them. I don't remember who said it to me, but they made a comment about their amazement at the last time that they do something, or the last time that they see someone, or the last time that they interact with someone. And I think it must have been the roller skating rink that inspired these thoughts, is all I can think. Because even as Candace and I went in, my first thought was, I have not been in one of these buildings in years and years and years and years. And it took me back, obviously, to when I was a young dad, or obvious to me, when I was a young father. I wondered, was this whole conversation begun with, do you remember the last time we were in the skating rink? I don't know how it began. Do you remember the last time we played air hockey? Don't know how the conversation began. Do you remember the last time we played skee ball? Again, I don't know. But I know that that's where it ended. Even as I've tried to watch some of my consumption lately, I wonder if they even said, when's the last time we had pepperoni pizza? Because I had a good slice of pepperoni pizza yesterday. So again, something was the catalyst. Something incented incited this conversation on some level. And so it had me thinking, as they were talking, it had me thinking about things too. I wondered if I missed a conversation where they began to talk about, do you remember the last time we played in a soccer game? Do you remember the last time we had a gymnastics competition? Do you remember the last time we talked to so-and-so? Maybe they talked about a friend. But I heard in their statement to me that they had been doing some reflecting together, and it caused me to do the same. I began to reflect. And it was, the emotions were a jumble, is the only way I can say that. Some really good memories, some really sad to think last times. And so that's where my thought was. But what I think was said to me is, again, from Courtney or Aubrey, I think they said to me, you know, Dad, you're not always aware you're in a last time. You're not always aware this is going to be the last time. And then finish your own thought. Is this the last time for this? Is this the last time for that? And that's the part that sparked something in my mind, just went, wow. And I started to think about maybe all the last times. Just prior to that, the day before, actually, Kylie sent Candace and I a text and said, do you remember the name of the lake that I was baptized in? Kylie was baptized in Flagstaff, or near Flagstaff, Arizona, at a camp out that we drove far. I just remember we drove a long ways from Northern Arizona University to go to this baptismal site. So I Googled it and I looked on a map and I gave him a couple of my guesses. But I wondered if Kylie was thinking, as he sent that text to me, is that the last time I'll see that lake that I was baptized in? I know I've gone back so many times trying to look online to see if I can find the lake that I was baptized in. And those are my thoughts. So I made an assumption that maybe that's what Kylie was thinking. On Wednesday last week, all of this happened in the same week. On Wednesday last week, my brother Dane sent Candace and I a text that said at 8:02 a.m., Brother Dwayne Lowe took me into the waters at a camp out 42 years ago in Virginia. And then, like every Obradovich I've ever met does, he went on a rant and began to rant about, will we ever go back to this camp out? Will we ever do this? Will I ever wear this shirt? No, he didn't say anything about a shirt he wore. But the rant began and just made left and right turns everywhere. But I wondered about Dane, and I wondered if he was thinking the same thing. Was that time, 42 years ago, the last time I'll ever get to visit the place where I began my walk with Jesus Christ? Last times sneak up on us. We never really know. Often at the end of a season, no matter what sport I'm coaching at the time, at the end of a season, on our last practice of the year, I'll have everyone stop and pause. When I do seminars, week-long seminars at campouts, or if I do seminars in even one-day seminars at conferences, I often do this same exercise. Have everyone just stop and look around with this statement. This is the last time this specific group of people will ever be together in this, for this reason, this cause. When you do that as a team, especially, it's almost emotional. Begin to think about that. You begin to think, this is the last time this will ever happen. What I've learned in coaching, and maybe I've learned it with seminars, but I think about it with coaching more because maybe we're together longer. Some of those young people never return to a sports field. So it's not just the last time that particular team might be together, but it might be the last time for that particular specific individual ever even participate. Today's message, and you may have guessed already, is the last time. I remember as the last time relates on this Father's Day, I remember the last time I was with my father. I have verbally documented my relationship with my father, which was absolutely wonderful when it was good, and not when it wasn't. I've used different words, different phrases, different adjectives to describe that, none of which I are part of my vocabulary and my necessarily my recall, at least to repeat any longer. And that's due to my healing, not due to anything else, my maturing, my working through. Be that as it may, they are still a part of my memory. They are still a part of my experience. And that's what makes this last time so spectacular for me. So my dad had been diagnosed and was battling with a sickness and fighting in his last, though I was unaware, as I say often, or I've said often today, we're not necessarily aware it may be the last time. So I was unaware that this was going to be my last time with my dad. But something tells me he was. Something tells me that he was aware. And so after a life of the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, I think my dad thought through a lot in this moment. And as I was sitting with him, and I believe I was the only one in the room at this time, which makes this even more important to me, he motioned to me, and he was the strongest man I knew in my life, just the strongest man. And he was down to nothing in this moment, so that you understand the differences in all that I had in that moment. And from his bed, feeble as he was, he gestured to me, "Come here." And so I leaned in, and he shook his head and he said, "No, come here." And I leaned in further. And a second time he said, "No." And a third time he said, "Come here." And so I leaned all the way on to him and almost put my hands on him real gently. And he took my hands into his hands, and he kissed my hands. And the difference in that moment for what those hands had represented in my young life, and the way I had interacted with him with those hands, was so different in this tender moment as he held my hands and kissed them. And so the last time I was with my father, it was quite possibly the single best moment that I ever had with him. And so it leaves an impression on me of this man who wanted to be much more tender than he was always able to be. So it's a beautiful memory. I also, though, remember, though maybe not particularly the last time he called, I remember phone calls from my dad. I remember when they would come. I remember that I knew that they were coming in many times because there were sporting events going on, the Super Bowl or something on TV, and something would happen and I'd think, "Oh, he's going to call me." And he would, and he'd call me on the phone. And in that moment, I would contemplate, do I grab this phone call? Because I know he is the source of the rants. He is the original ranter. So if I grab this call, am I going to be stranded in my mind, stranded for 10 minutes or so, talking to him? And so I would make those conscientious decisions on whether yes or whether no to even grab the telephone. And having said that, there were times I didn't. And I think now, again, I don't remember the last time we talked on the phone, but I think all the time what I would give for my phone to ring and look on the ID and see that it's a call from my father. Last times are significant to all of us. We're not always aware that this might be the last time. And sometimes we are, as it relates to Father's Day and our Heavenly Father. I'm going to bring you a verse or two. It comes from Matthew, the 24th verse, as Jesus Christ is speaking about us and speaking about our relationship to the Father. It's in the 44th, 45th, and 46th verses. It says this, therefore, be ye also ready. Remember what we're talking about. We're talking about last times. Be ye also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh. Sometimes Candace and I will be on a walk. This has happened probably twice to her and maybe 3 times to me. And I think some of you all know we take our brisk walk daily, 2.5, 3 miles, and do it at a pace. It's not a fun walk, but we love our time together. It's an exercise. We're doing it with purpose. And there's been a couple times where we've had to stop. One of us is dizzy. I want to say that it's maybe sugar. I want to say that maybe it's we didn't eat enough. What I don't want to say is it's an indication of my age. What I definitely want to deny completely, because it's one of the steps in grieving, I don't want to accept that it's age related, but instead something has us stop. But in those moments, all kinds of things swirl in your mind. For in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh. And that's what I think every time I think, is he coming for me? Are they going to have to call someone to get me up off the street this time? Reading on, who then is a faithful and wise servant? Oh, no, excuse me. Who then is a faithful and wise servant whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household? Each of you called to rule over your own doings. He says household, over your own responsibilities, over your own accountability, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season, to be ready at all times, is what this is saying. Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Beginning with, be ye also ready. The last time. Are you ready? Each and every interaction. Are you ready that this is the last time, or could be? I remember sorry to go so dark, but I remember a funeral that I did for a young person. And as I was going to the funeral home for the funeral, after, and the steps that you do as a minister are multiple, more than most think. This particular one, I had to go with the family, or I was asked to go with the family for the first viewing, when the family saw the body for the first time in this open casket, and it caused incredible reaction from the family to say, that's good enough. So by the time you go to the funeral, for the funeral, you've gone a long distance and probably suffered with the family. And I remember as we were going to the funeral, I said to Candace, I'm so tired from doing funerals for young people. It was not that I would ever say no, please don't anyone take that wrong. I was so sad for the abruptness of loss here in Oldham County, with poor decision-making in many cases, judging no one, but poor decision-making in some cases, and just circumstance in others. The last time. Be ye also ready. One time and I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again. Probably 40 years ago, we went to a flea market in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It was, do you remember the name of it, Ken? The giant flea market, remember? The super flea market, something on Commercial Boulevard out on 441. They turned a drive-in, and for the younger people under 40, a drive-in is a theater that's outside and you sit in your cars. Most young people have no idea what a drive-in theater is. We do. Yes, we do. We got a drive-in theater in Oldham County. Bonnie's so excited. The perfect voice and inflection to announce that we got a drive-in. The drive-in on Saturday mornings was a flea market. So this I think it was like a quadruplex of theaters, and so it was this huge flea market. We got there at probably 6 a.m. We set up the flea market was probably set to open at 8 a.m. So we had at least a half hour this morning before the doors would open to others and vendors. And so I strolled around and looked at other people's things that they were selling. It's always so interesting. And there was this elderly woman sitting at her table quietly. And so I had probably my coffee and a donut or something. And I sat down, but I pulled up a chair. I said, "May I?" And she said, "Oh, come down." And so I sat down with her and we began to talk together. And at some point, I don't know when, she said to me, "So what have you been doing with your life?" Like we're old friends, like we had known each other forever. "So what are you doing with your life?" And I thought, let me get a snappy, clever answer and send it back to her. So I kind of leaned back and I said, "Well, I'm just getting ready." Oh, that's a good answer. I was well prepared for that. I thought, that's a good answer. Quicker than I was, she said to me, "Don't be getting ready, be ready." Game, set, match on that statement. Don't be getting ready. What she was telling me is you can spend your life getting ready. Don't be getting ready, be ready. What was Jesus Christ saying when he said, "Be ye also ready"? He was saying, don't be getting ready, be ready. You never know. You never know when it's the last time. I think we all project out the multiples of experiences we're going to have. We project out that this is not my last anything that we're in. I was with my father. The change was incredible. Prior to him being in the hospital, we got to the house, and I'm going to look at Candace because I know we've talked about this so many times. We got to the house, and it was shocking. This mountain of a man and what he had become because of this disease. So all the signs were there. And yet, in my last time with him, I was unaware it was the last time. Because there's always going to be another chance. There's always going to be another moment. I was getting ready to lose my father. I was not ready, as that wise woman told me to be. Our lives are filled with last times. I love that my daughters introduced this thought to me yesterday, inspired me with this thought yesterday. That we would always be ready for whatever the Lord has for us. Candace and I tell a story about a situation where she had interactions with someone. And I said to her one day, because she was hurt over and over and over and over by this individual with sharpness of words, sharpness of tongue. And I said, "Candace, you have to be ready for that. Don't be getting ready, be ready for everything." Sometimes, I want us all to understand something. Sometimes last times are first times. We may not necessarily have a second time to interact with some of the people we interact with. So that very first time you meet someone, or just a passing conversation you have with someone, or even just a passing on a street or in a store, is your opportunity to make an impression, to serve Jesus Christ. You never know, he says, when that time will come. So be ye ready. We may not hear the end of the testimony that you began in a sporting goods store, at a red light, at a roller skating rink. When you have an interaction with someone and you show kindness when you had options, when you express love when you had options to do so or not to, when you represented Jesus Christ when you had options to do so or not to do so, you may never hear the end of that testimony. We used to do an outreach in Oldham County called Rock and Rock. And it was, the first rock was church. So I brought them to the rock. 1 Corinthians speaks of the rock that we build our foundation on. And so I brought them to the rock for the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the evening. And then the next 2 hours, they shot the rock. They played basketball. We never know the impression we might have. One day, a young man came up to me at one of the Rock and Rocks and said to me, I just want you to know I was baptized today. I hadn't been to church in 15 years. And Rock and Rock did something in me. And so I went back to my church and I started to attend and I was baptized today. And my first impression, my first reaction, within, Stephen Johnson will never know what my reaction was, but my first reaction within was disappointment. I thought, oh, I invite you all every week to come to church. And I was disappointed that he had gone back to wherever his roots were, and a wiser reaction came within moments after. He had gone back to the Lord. He had made a great decision to return to the Lord. Again, I don't know where his testimony ends. He may walk in today. Jimmy, get ready. He may be sitting beside you soon. Don't know. But in that moment, I went from disappointment to then celebration that it found his way back. We never know the end of the testimony. You may interact with someone in a store, on a street, at a family reunion, at your workplace. It may only be once or twice or 5 times. And you may never know how that story ends, that they return to their Savior because of your interaction. Be ye ready at all times, because any moment in your life may be the last time. And it may not just be the last time for that meeting, it may be your last time. We read the great scripture that says, all of this is a probationary state. All of this, everything we're doing here, we're on probation. I don't know if you've had this experience at work, but I have a couple different stops where I have a 90-day probation period. That 89th day, I'm like, my palms are sweating. I'm thinking, they can either pull the trigger or let me stay. Because my probation says they can fire with or without cause in that first 90 days. This is just probation. That's all this is. We are either going to prove ourselves to be welcome or to be unwelcome in the paradise of God. We also use this time to help others prove themselves to be welcome or to be unwelcome. Be ye ready, always. It was good counsel that I gave to Candace a long time ago with this individual that just clashed a little bit. Candace, be ready. It just wasn't thorough. It was very specific to a situation. The real counsel, the good counsel, the wise counsel that I didn't give was this: be ye ready always, in all times, in all places. because you never know when it just might be the last time. May the Lord bless each one of you.